The wind carried ice crystals across the empty valley. Two small shapes huddled in the corner of an abandoned mining shelter, pressed together for warmth. Pharaoh lifted his head slightly, scanning the gray horizon for any sign of movement. Nothing. Just like yesterday. Just like the day before that. His brother Cinder stirred beside him, scales rattling with cold. The smaller dragon had stopped asking when their clan would return. They both knew the answer now. Their family had left them 3 weeks ago when the migration began. The clan leader had looked at Pharaoh's twisted wing and Cinder's small frame and made his decision. Resources were precious. Weak hatchlings were a burden the clan could not afford. Pharaoh stretched his damaged wing carefully. The membrane had never formed properly. While other hatchlings learned to fly, he could only manage clumsy hops. Their mother had died, bringing them into the world. Without her protection, the clan had no reason to keep them. Cinder pushed himself up on shaky legs. His ribs showed clearly under bronze scales that should have gleamed with health. Instead, they looked dull and dusty. The smaller dragon limped toward the entrance of the shelter, hope still flickering in his golden eyes. Maybe today, Cinder whispered in their native tongue. Maybe they changed their minds. Pharaoh did not answer. He had given up on maybes. The first snow had fallen last night. Winter came early on this frontier world called Frostholm. Soon the passes would close completely. Even if the clan wanted to return, they could not reach this valley until spring. By then, 2 small bodies would be frozen beneath the drifts. Cinder returned empty-handed from his search. No small animals stirred in the dying grasslands. Everything with sense had already migrated or gone aground. The brothers had found some dried berries 2 days ago, but dragons could not survive on plants. Their bodies needed meat, needed protein. Without it, they would waste away. Pharaoh pulled Cinder close as another gust of wind rattled the old mining equipment. The shelter had been abandoned for years. Rusted tools lay scattered across the floor. A broken generator sat in the corner like a metal corpse. But the walls blocked the wind, and that was enough. "Tell me again," Cinder said softly. "About Mother." Pharaoh closed his eyes. He barely remembered her. Just impressions. Warmth. Safety. A voice singing in the darkness. She had fought to live long enough to see them hatch. She had failed. She was strong, Pharaoh said, because that was what dragons valued. She hunted the great ice elk. She could fly faster than the northern winds. But she loved us, Cinder added. Even though we were small. Even though we were small, Pharaoh agreed. It was a lie, probably. But it was a lie that helped them sleep. The sound of an engine cut through the wind. Both brothers jerked upright. Pharaoh pushed Cinder behind him, damaged wings spreading as far as it could go. The noise grew louder. Not a dragon. Something mechanical. Something alien that a vehicle rolled into view. 6 wheels, battered paint, clearly designed for rough terrain. It stopped outside the shelter. The engine died. A door opened that a creature climbed out. 2 legs. 2 arms. No scales or fur. Skin the color of dark soil. Hair cropped short and gray at the temples. The being wore heavy work clothes and carried some kind of scanning device. Pharaoh had seen images of these creatures in the clan's data stores. Human. One of the newer species in galactic society. Weak. No clothes. No natural armor. They died easily and lived such brief lives. Yet somehow they had spread across dozens of worlds in just a few generations. The human approached the shelter entrance slowly. His eyes widened when he saw them. He stopped, hands held away from his body in a gesture Pharaoh did not understand. "Easy there," the human said in Galactic common. His accent was terrible. "I'm not going to hurt you." Pharaoh growled low in his throat. Cinder pressed against his back, too weak to run even if they had somewhere to go. The human took another step. Pharaoh snapped his teeth together in warning. The sound echoed off the metal walls. "You are just babies," the human said. His voice carried something Pharaoh had never heard before. Not disgust at their weakness. Not calculation about their worth. Something softer. Something that made Pharaoh's throat tighten. "Where's your family?" Cinder made a sound. A whimper. The human's face changed. He looked around the shelter, at the empty valley, at the snow beginning to fall again. When he looked back at them, Pharaoh saw understanding in those strange, small eyes. They left you, the human said quietly. It was not a question. Pharaoh said nothing. Admission felt like defeat. The human stood very still for a long moment. Then he turned and walked back to his vehicle. Pharaoh felt something sink in his chest. Of course, even this alien could see they were not worth the effort. Why would he be different from their own kind? But the human did not drive away. He opened the back of his vehicle and began pulling out boxes, supplies, equipment. He carried them into the shelter, moving slowly, carefully, always watching the brothers from the corner of his eye. "My name is Owen," the human said as he set down a container. "Owen Blake. I am a surveyor. I was supposed to check this site and leave before the snow locked down the valley." He opened the container. Pharaoh smelled it immediately. Food. Processed rations, but protein-rich. His stomach cramped with hunger. Owen pulled out a small portion and placed it on the ground between them. Then he backed away. "I suppose I will be staying a bit longer," Owen said. Cinder looked at Pharaoh. The larger brother stared at the food, at the human, at the supplies still being unloaded. He did not understand. Help came with expectations. Nothing was free. What did this Owen want from them? But Cinder was already moving forward, too hungry to care about pride or suspicion. He took the food in trembling claws and began to eat. After a moment, Pharaoh followed. The taste was strange, chemical wrong, but it was food. It was life. Owen watched the meat. Then he went back to unloading his vehicle. Outside, the snow fell harder. Winter had arrived. But for the first time in 3 weeks, Pharaoh felt something other than despair, that he felt confusion. And beneath that, buried so deep he almost did not recognize it, he felt the first fragile spark of hope. 5 days had passed since Owen Blake made his decision to stay. The shelter no longer felt like a tomb waiting to claim them. Heat units hummed in the corners, pushing back the freezing air that leaked through cracks in the walls. The human had set up a small living area on one side, giving the brothers space on the other. Between them sat containers of supplies, medical equipment, and the portable computer Owen consulted constantly. Pharaoh watched the human now as Owen studied his screen, muttering to himself in his native language. The dragon had learned to recognize frustration in Owen's voice. The human had been sending messages across the galactic network, searching for information about dragon hatchling care. Most responses were unhelpful. Dragons did not share their child-rearing practices with outsiders. It was considered private clan business. Cinder slept nearby, curled into the warmest spot Owen had created for them. The smaller dragon looked better already. His scales had regained some of their shine. His breathing came easier. The protein paste Owen provided was clearly designed for human emergencies, but it was keeping them alive. That was enough. Owen closed his computer and looked over at Pharaoh. Their eyes met. The human smiled, showing his flat teeth. Pharaoh had learned this was not a threat display, though it had startled him the first time. "You do not trust me yet," Owen said in careful galactic common. "I understand that. Trust must be earned." Pharaoh tilted his head. The human spoke truth. In dragon culture, words meant little. Actions proved worth. Yet Owen's actions confused him. The human gained nothing from helping them. He had even received angry messages from his supervisors, ordering him to return to the main colony. Owen had refused. He had chosen to stay in this cold shelter with 2 dying hatchlings instead of returning to warmth and safety. "Why?" "Your wing," Owen said, gesturing to Pharaoh's damaged limb. "May I look at it? I have been reading about dragon anatomy. I think I might be able to help." Pharaoh's first instinct was to refuse. The wing was his shame, the proof of his unworthiness. But Owen's face held only curiosity and concern. No judgment, no disgust. Slowly, Pharaoh extended the twisted wing. Owen approached with the same careful slowness he always used. He knelt beside Pharaoh and examined the membrane. His fingers were gentle as they traced the malformed bones. Pharaoh tensed, expecting pain, but Owen's touch was careful. "The structure is not broken," Owen said, more to himself than to Pharaoh. "Just developed incorrectly. The bones fused at the wrong angle during your growth in the egg." He pulled back, thinking, "I cannot fix it, but I might be able to create a brace." something to support the wing and distribute weight differently. It would not let you fly, but it might reduce the pain. Pain. Pharaoh had not realized Owen knew about the pain. He had tried to hide it, the way dragons hid all weakness. But this human saw too much. Why do you help us? Pharaoh asked. The words came out rougher than he intended, spoken in dragon tongue before he could translate. Owen seemed to understand anyway. He sat back on his heels and was quiet for a moment. When he spoke, his voice was softer than Pharaoh had heard before. 17 years ago, I had a family, a wife, a daughter. There was an accident at the colony where we lived. Life support failure. I was off-world on a job. Owen stared at his hands. I could not save them. I was not there when they needed me. Cinder had woken up. Both brothers listened without moving. I cannot bring them back, Owen continued. But when I saw you two, left here to die, I thought perhaps I could save someone else's children. Perhaps that would mean something. Pharaoh understood loss. He understood the hole it left inside you. But he had never heard of choosing to fill that hole with strangers. With a different species entirely. We are not your kind, Pharaoh said carefully. No, Owen agreed. But you are children, and I am an adult who can help. That is enough. Such a human thing to say. Dragons thought in terms of clan and blood. But humans, Pharaoh was learning, thought in broader patterns. They saw connections where dragons saw only separation, that a notification chimed on Owen's computer. He stood and checked it, then his expression darkened. He read silently, jaw tight. What is wrong? Cinder asked, his galactic comment improving daily. Owen hesitated. Then he turned the screen so they could see. A message from the Colonial Administration. Behind it, a report from a passing vessel. Pharaoh read the words slowly, still learning the written language. Then he understood. A Dragon Clan ship had passed near Frostholm. The colony had sent an inquiry, informing them that 2 abandoned hatchlings had been found. Perhaps they wished to retrieve their young. The response was short. The clan confirmed the hatchlings had been deemed unworthy. They would not be retrieved. The matter was closed. Cinder made a sound like breaking glass. Pharaoh felt his chest grow tight. They had known. They had known their clan would not return. But knowing and seeing it written in official communication were different things. This was final. This was permanent rejection. Owen crossed to them quickly and knelt down. He did not touch them. Dragons did not like being touched when distressed. But he stayed close. I am sorry, Owen said. I had hoped I was wrong. I had hoped they might change their minds. We are weak, Pharaoh said flatly. We slow the clan. This is how it must be. No, Owen said firmly. This is how they chose it to be. There is a difference. What difference? Pharaoh demanded. We cannot fly. We cannot hunt properly. We would die without your help. They were right to leave us. Owen's expression changed, became fiercer. He leaned forward until his face was level with Pharaoh's. Listen to me, both of you. Needing help does not make you weak. Accepting help does not make you worthless. My species learned that truth long ago. We survive because we help each other, because we choose to carry those who stumble. That is not weakness. That is strength. Pharaoh wanted to argue, wanted to explain dragon philosophy, dragon culture, dragon truth. But the words stuck in his throat because Owen had stumbled too in his way. He had lost his family. That wound still bled. Yet here he was, choosing to help strangers, choosing to build something new from his pain instead of letting it consume him. You are not our blood clan, Cinder said quietly. No, Owen agreed. But you choose to be our clan anyway, Pharaoh finished. Owen smiled again. Sadder this time, but real. Yes, if you will have me. Outside, wind howled against the shelter walls. Snow piled higher with each passing hour. The passes would be completely blocked soon. But inside, 3 beings from different worlds sat together in the warmth. Pharaoh looked at his brother. Cinder looked back. Some communication passed between them that needed no words. They both moved closer to Owen, close enough to feel his warmth, close enough to hear his heartbeat. The human froze, then carefully, slowly, placed a hand on each of their heads. Chosen clan, Pharaoh said, testing the words. Chosen family, Owen corrected gently. What is the difference? Family is what you call people you love, Owen said. Not just people you were related to. Love. Another human concept. But as Pharaoh leaned into Owen's touch, feeling safe for the first time since his mother died, he thought perhaps he was beginning to understand. Outside, winter deepened. Inside, something new was being born. Deep winter had transformed Frostholm into a world of white and gray. Snow reached halfway up the shelter walls. The wind never stopped howling. But inside, routines had formed that made the cold months bearable. Pharaoh stood near the entrance, watching Owen work on the wing brace. The human had been crafting it for 2 weeks, using salvaged materials from the old mining equipment. Lightweight metal strips, flexible polymer padding, adjustment straps made from safety harness webbing. Owen's hands moved with steady confidence, though Pharaoh knew the human had never made anything like this before. Cinder practiced his reading on the other side of the shelter, sounding out words from Owen's educational files. The smaller dragon had taken to learning with enthusiasm. He could now read basic Galactic common and was starting to understand some human language. Pharaoh preferred physical activities, learning to strengthen his damaged body, discovering what he could do despite his limitations. "Try it now," Owen said, holding up the completed brace. Pharaoh approached and let the human fit the device around his wing. It felt strange at first. The support struts extended along the malformed bones, held in place by careful strapping. When Pharaoh extended the wing, the brace distributed the stress differently. The constant ache he had lived with his entire life lessened noticeably. Owen watched his face. Pharaoh realized his scales had shifted color, an involuntary response to relief. The human smiled. "Better." "Yes," Pharaoh admitted. He folded and extended the wing several times. The movement was still awkward, still wrong, but the pain was manageable now. "Thank you. We help each other," Owen said simply. "That is what family does." Family. They use that word often now. It had become natural to think of Owen not as the strange alien who had saved them, but as something more. Something that had no proper word in dragon tongue, that a notification sounded from Owen's computer. All 3 of them looked over. Messages were rare this deep into winter. The colony was mostly shut down, everyone waiting for the spring thaw. Owen crossed to the screen and read. His expression changed, grew careful. "What is it?" Cinder asked, abandoning his reading. "A ship has landed at the main colony," Owen said slowly. "A dragon ship. The Stormwing clan." Pharaoh felt his scales ripple. The Stormwing clan was legendary, ancient, powerful, one of the oldest dragon families in the galaxy. What were they doing on a backwater colony world like Frostholm? "They have requested to meet with you," Owen said, reading further. "Both of you. And me." "Why?" Cinder's voice was small. Owen continued reading. His jaw tightened. "News of your case has spread across the galactic networks. The Council investigation into my actions. Your abandonment. Other species have been watching. Apparently, the Stormwing clan leader wants to evaluate the situation personally. They will take us away," Pharaoh said. It was not a question. Powerful clans could claim abandoned hatchlings if they chose. It was rare but legal. "I will not let that happen without a fight," Owen said fiercely. "But we cannot refuse the meeting. The Stormwing clan has too much influence." "When?" Pharaoh asked. 3 days. They're sending a shuttle that can handle the snow." 3 days. Pharaoh looked at his brother, at Owen, at the shelter that had become their home. He had known this peace could not last forever, but he had hoped for more time. The next 3 days passed too quickly. Owen prepared them, explaining dragon political structures, teaching them formal greeting protocols. The brothers practiced their galactic common, wanting to represent themselves well. None of them spoke about what might happen down on the 3rd day. They heard the shuttle approach. It was massive, designed for combat as well as transport. Pure Stormwing clan style. Overwhelming force wrapped in elegant design. The shuttle landed outside the shelter. The door opened. A figure emerged that made both brothers instinctively lower their heads. She was enormous. Easily 4 times Pharaoh's size, though he had grown considerably in the past months. Her scales were silver white, scarred from countless battles. Each movement radiated controlled power. Ancient golden eyes studied them with an intelligence that felt like being dissected. I am Silver Scale, the Elder Dragon said. Her voice resonated in their bones. Clan leader of the Stormwing. You are Pharaoh and Cinder of the discarded bloodline. Yes, honored elder, Pharaoh managed. Beside him, Cinder trembled. Silver Scale's gaze shifted to Owen. The human stood straight despite being dwarfed by the massive dragon. Pharaoh felt pride flare in his chest. Owen did not cower. You are the human who interfered with clan judgment, Silver Scale said. I am Owen Blake, the human replied steadily. And I saved 2 children who were left to die. If that is interference, then I accept the title. Silver Scale's eyes narrowed. Then, unexpectedly, she made a sound that might have been amusement. Bold. Humans are always so bold. She looked back at the brothers. Show me what you have learned. It was not a request. Pharaoh glanced at Owen. The human nodded slightly. Trust me, his expression said. Cinder is the hunter now, Pharaoh said. He has learned to track and take down prey 3 times his size. Would you like to see? I would. They spent the next hour demonstrating. Cinder showed his hunting techniques, modified for Frostholm's harsh environment. Pharaoh showed how his damaged wing, now supported by Owen's brace, could still be used for balance and intimidation in ground combat. Owen explained the strategies they had developed together, each member's strengths covering others' weaknesses. Silver Scale watched it all in silence. When they finished, the Elder Dragon studied them for a long moment. Then she spoke. You work well together. The human has taught you tactics foreign to dragon tradition. Clever. Adaptive. She paused. But you're still hatchlings. You need proper training. Resources. The protection of a strong clan. Pharaoh's heart sank. I offer you adoption into the Stormwing clan, Silver Scale continued. You would have status, wealth, access to the finest combat instructors in the galaxy. Everything your birth clan denied you. Cinder looked at Pharaoh. Pharaoh looked at Owen. The human's face was carefully neutral, but his eyes held pain. He would not stop them if they chose to go. He would let them make their own choice, because that was what family did. Pharaoh stepped forward. He was still small compared to Silver Scale, but he held his head high. Honored Elder, your offer brings great honor, but we must refuse. Silver Scale's eyes widened slightly. Refusal of clan adoption was virtually unheard of. Explain, she commanded. We already have a clan, Cinder said, moving to stand beside his brother. We have a family, the human. Silver Scale's tone suggested she found this absurd. Yes, Pharaoh said firmly. Owen saved us when our own blood abandoned us. He fed us, taught us, gave us purpose. We owe him our lives. More than that, we choose him. We choose this family we have built. Humans are not dragons, Silver Scale said. No, Pharaoh agreed. They are better at some things. They understand that strength is not only in wings and claws. That worth is not measured only in battle prowess. That family can be chosen, not just inherited. Silver Scale was silent for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice had changed, become softer. I lost my own hatchlings many years ago. Clan politics, betrayal. I have never taken another mate. She looked at Owen. You love them. I can see it. And they love you. Yes, Owen said simply. Then you face an impossible situation, Silver Scale said. The Galactic Council will not easily accept this arrangement. Dragon clans will oppose it. You will be challenged at every step. I know, Owen said. And still you choose this path. All 3 of them answered together. Yes. Silver Scale studied them one more time. Then she did something unexpected. She bowed her head to Owen, a gesture of respect from elder to worthy opponent. Then I will help you, she said. The Stormwing clan will support your case before the council. Not because I understand your human ways, but because I see genuine bond here. That is rare enough to be worth preserving. Pharaoh felt something tight in his chest release. Beside him, Cinder made a sound of pure relief. Owen's eyes were suspiciously bright. Thank you, the human said. Do not thank me yet, Silver Scale replied. The battle ahead will be difficult. But know this, young ones. You have made a powerful ally today. She returned to her shuttle. Before entering, she looked back one more time. Prove me right, she said. Show the galaxy that your human family is worth the fight. The shuttle lifted off, powerful engines cutting through the snow. Pharaoh turned to Owen and Cinder. His family, his chosen clan. We will, he said quietly. We will prove it. Outside, winter continued. But inside, hope burned brighter than any heating unit. Spring arrived on Frostholm like a promise kept. Snow melted into rushing streams. The valley turned from white to brown to green over the course of weeks. With the thaw came visitors. The Galactic Council investigation team arrived on a bright morning when the brothers were practicing combat drills outside the shelter. Pharaoh saw the official transport descend and felt his scales tighten with nervous energy. This was the moment that would decide everything. Owen emerged from the shelter, dressed in his cleanest work clothes. He had prepared for weeks. Documents organized, testimony practiced, evidence compiled. But Pharaoh could see the tension in the human shoulders. This meeting would determine whether they could stay together. The transport door opened. 3 beings emerged. A centauri with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected light like jewels. A Tyrellian whose skin shifted colors with her emotions. A human woman in formal council robes who moved with quiet authority. Owen Blake? The centauri asked. His voice had a clicking quality that made it hard to understand. I am Investigator Prentok. This is biologist Xylia and advocate Danera. We are here to evaluate your case regarding the dragon hatchlings. I understand, Owen said. Please come inside. I have prepared everything you requested. They spent the next hour reviewing documents. Medical scans showing the brothers' condition when Owen found them versus now. Nutritional reports. Educational progress assessments. Communication logs showing Owen's attempts to contact dragon cultural experts. Every piece of evidence that might prove he had acted in the hatchling's best interest. Prentok examined everything with mechanical efficiency. His compound eyes missed nothing. You violated non-interference protocols, the Centauri stated. Dragon clan customs regarding weak offspring are well documented. You had no authority to intervene. I had the authority of basic decency, Owen replied. They were children, sentient children, left to die slowly from cold and starvation. Many species have practices that seem harsh to others, Prentok countered. The council cannot function if every individual decides which cultural practices to respect. Pharaoh watched this exchange with growing dread. The investigator spoke like this was an academic exercise. Like their lives were theoretical problems to be solved with proper paperwork. Xylia, the Tyrellian biologist, had been silent until now. Her skin shifted to warm orange as she studied the brothers. May I examine you both? She asked gently. Pharaoh and Cinder nodded. They had practiced this with Owen. Stay calm. Be respectful. Show how well they had developed. Xylia's examination was thorough. She measured their growth, tested their reflexes, asked questions about their diet, their education, their emotional state. Her skin colors shifted constantly, readable to those who knew Tyrellian body language. Pharaoh hoped the shifting meant good things. They are remarkably healthy, Xylia said finally. Better than typical hatchlings of their age, actually. The human's care has been exceptional. That is not the question at hand, Prentok said sharply. The question is whether the human had the right to provide that care. Actually, Danera spoke for the first time. The human advocate's voice was calm but firm. The question is whether sentient beings have a right to choose their own family structure. These are hatchlings, Prentok argued. They cannot make informed decisions. They are sitting right here, Pharaoh said. All 3 council members turned to look at him. He forced himself to continue despite his nervousness. We understand what is happening. We understand the choice. We choose to stay with Owen. You do not understand the full implications, Prentok said. We understand enough, Cinder added. His voice was quieter than Pharaoh's, but just as determined. We understand that our blood clan left us to die. We understand that Owen risked everything to save us. We understand that he has been kinder to us than our own kind. What more do we need to understand? Prentok's mandibles clicked rapidly. Agitation, Pharaoh had learned. May I speak with the hatchlings privately? Xylia asked. Owen tensed but nodded. He left the shelter with Printok and Daenerys. The biologist waited until they were alone with the brothers. Tell me honestly, Xylia said, her skin shifting to gentle blue. Are you happy here? Pharaoh considered the question carefully. I do not know if happy is the right word. He said, we are alive. We are learning. We are cared for. Owen treats us with respect. He listens when we speak. He helps us become stronger despite our weaknesses. He paused. Is that happiness? It sounds like it to me, Xylia said softly. Do you ever wish you had gone with your clan? No, both brothers said together. Do you fear Owen? Does he punish you harshly? Control you? Owen barely raises his voice, Cinder said. Even when I broke his data pad by accident. He was frustrated, but he explained why I needed to be more careful. Then he taught me how to repair it. Xylia made notes on her device. Her skin had shifted to warm gold. One more question. If you could have any life you wanted, what would you choose? Pharaoh thought about the powerful Stormwind clan, about status and wealth and proper dragon training, about everything he could have if he accepted traditional dragon life. Then he thought about early mornings watching Owen cook breakfast, about Cinder reading aloud from human storybooks, about the three of them sitting together on cold nights, sharing warmth and stories, about feeling valued not despite his damaged wing, but because Owen saw him as whole anyway. This, Pharaoh said, I would choose this life. With my brother. With Owen. This family we have made. Xylia's skin brightened to brilliant gold. She smiled. Thank you for your honesty. She called the others back inside. Printok immediately began questioning Owen about long-term plans, educational resources, financial stability. The Centauri seemed determined to find some flaw that would justify his position, but Daenerys was reviewing Xylia's notes. The human advocate's expression had shifted from neutral to something warmer. I have a question for Investigator Printok, Daenerys said. You have reviewed all the evidence. You have seen how healthy and well-educated these hatchlings are. You have heard them express their own desires clearly and thoughtfully. What exact harm has been done here? The protocol was violated, Printok insisted. But what harm was done? Daenerys pressed. 2 lives were saved. 2 sentient beings who would have died are now thriving. A human has devoted himself to their care and education. Where is the damage that justifies separating this family? Printok's mandibles clicked rapidly. He had no answer that did not sound cold and bureaucratic. The dragon clans will protest, he said finally. Some will, Daenerys agreed. But not all. The Stormwind clan has already filed supporting testimony, and we have received messages from other species about similar situations. Quiet adoptions that have been happening for years. This case has brought them into the light. You are suggesting we legitimize mass cultural interference, Printok said. I am suggesting we recognize that sentient beings have the right to choose their families, Daenerys replied. That children deserve safety and love, regardless of species. That our protocols should serve life, not rigid tradition. The debate continued for hours. Pharaoh and Cinder sat quietly, watching their fate being decided by beings who had known them for less than a day. Owen remained calm outwardly, but Pharaoh could see the human's hands trembling slightly. Finally, as the sun began to set, Printok stood. We will deliberate off-world, he said. You will have our decision within 1 month. 1 month, Owen repeated. And until then, the current situation continues, Daenerys said, shooting Printok a meaningful look. Unless you believe the hatchlings are in immediate danger. Printok looked at the brothers, at their healthy scales, at the educational materials scattered around the shelter, at the obvious bond between human and dragons. No, he admitted reluctantly. No immediate danger. The team departed. The transport lifted off into the evening sky. Pharaoh, Cinder, and Owen stood together watching it disappear. 1 month, Cinder whispered. 1 month to wait, Owen said. But whatever happens, remember this. You are my sons. Paper or no paper. Council approval or not. That is not changing. Pharaoh leaned against Owen's side. Cinder did the same. The human put his arms around both of them. We know, Pharaoh said. We know. Above them, Frostholm's stars began to appear. 1 month until their future was decided. But tonight, they had each other. Tonight, that was enough. 27 days had passed since the council team departed. 3 days remained until the decision. Pharaoh could not stop counting. Every morning he woke and thought, 3 more days. Every evening before sleep, 2 more days. Time felt like a physical weight pressing down on all of them. Owen tried to maintain their normal routines. Lessons in the morning. Hunting practice in the afternoon. Shared meals in the evening. But the tension was there beneath everything. Pharaoh caught the human staring at his communication device when he thought the brothers were not watching, waiting for news that never came. Cinder had become quieter. He still practiced his reading and helped with daily tasks, but his usual enthusiasm had dimmed. At night, he pressed closer to Pharaoh than usual, seeking comfort in his brother's presence. They were in the middle of afternoon drills when the sound of engines cut through the valley. Not the council's official transport. Something smaller, faster, with an energy signature Pharaoh recognized. Dragon ship. Owen's hand went to the stunner he now wore at his belt. Not that it would do much good against a full-grown dragon, but the human refused to be completely unarmed anymore. The ship landed smoothly. The design was familiar. Stormwing clan markings. The door opened and Silver Scale emerged, moving with her usual deadly grace. "Honored elder," Pharaoh said, bowing his head. Beside him, Cinder and Owen did the same. "Rise," Silver Scale said. "I do not come with ceremony today. I come with a proposal." She settled herself outside the shelter, too large to enter comfortably. The three of them sat facing her. Pharaoh's heart hammered. Had the elder changed her mind about supporting them? "The council will issue their decision in 3 days," Silver Scale began. "I have sources who tell me the debate has been fierce. Some members argue for your separation. Others support your bond. The outcome is uncertain." "We know," Owen said quietly. "What you do not know is that several traditional dragon clans have been organizing opposition. They view your case as an attack on dragon culture. They are pressuring the council to rule against you." Pharaoh felt his scales go cold. Cinder made a small distressed sound. "However," Silver Scale continued, and there was something sharp in her voice now, "I did not come to bring only bad news. I came with a challenge." "What kind of challenge?" Owen asked warily. "Dragons respect strength, proven ability. Words mean little to us compared to actions." Silver Scale's golden eyes fixed on Pharaoh. "If you can demonstrate that your family unit is genuinely strong, that the bonds between you provide real advantage, it might sway the undecided council members." "How do we demonstrate that?" Pharaoh asked. "Hunt with me," Silver Scale said simply. "There is a glacier bear in these mountains. Ancient, dangerous. It has killed 3 adult dragons over the years. I have been tracking it for 2 weeks." She paused. "Help me take it down. Show me that your human tactics and your brotherly coordination can contribute meaningfully to a hunt that challenges even clan elders." Pharaoh looked at Owen. The human's face had gone pale. "You want to take my sons into a fight with something that has killed adult dragons?" Owen said carefully. Pharaoh heard the anger beneath the controlled tone. "I want to give them a chance to prove themselves," Silver Scale corrected. "The council needs evidence that your family structure works, not just for survival, but for truly challenging situations. Words will not convince them. Action might. It is too dangerous," Owen said flatly. "It is dangerous," Silver Scale agreed. "But so is losing them to a council ruling. At least this danger can be faced directly." Pharaoh felt torn. The human in him wanted to refuse to avoid the risk. But the dragon part, the part that understood his own culture, recognized the truth in Silver Scale's words. Dragons valued proven capability. A successful hunt against legendary prey would carry more weight than any testimony. "We should do it," Pharaoh said quietly. Owen turned to him, eyes wide. "Pharaoh, no, you are barely half-grown. Your wing is still weak even with the brace. Which is why we need to show that we can succeed anyway," Pharaoh argued. "If we hide from every challenge, we prove the traditionalists right. That we are too weak. That we need to be separated and properly raised by dragons." "You are not weak," Owen said fiercely. "Then let us prove it," Cinder added, supporting his brother. Together, all three of us, the way we have been training. Owen looked between his sons and the elder dragon. Pharaoh could see the war happening behind the humans' eyes. Every protective instinct screaming to refuse, but also understanding the political reality they faced. "I will be there," Silverscale said. "If things go wrong, I will intervene. I do not propose this to watch hatchlings die. I propose it to give them a chance to change minds through action." Owen was silent for a long moment. Then he let out a long breath. "If we do this, we do it my way. We plan carefully. We use every advantage we have. We do not take unnecessary risks." "Agreed," Silverscale said. "I expected nothing less from a human. Your kind is famous for turning disadvantages into advantages through clever tactics." They spent the rest of the day planning. Silverscale showed them her tracking data on the glacier bear. The creature was massive, weighing several tons. Its fur was thick enough to turn most energy weapons. Its claws could shred reinforced armor. It hibernated deep in ice caves during summer and emerged in spring, ravenously hungry. Owen studied the data with the same intensity he brought to all problems. Pharaoh watched him work, making notes, sketching diagrams, asking questions about dragon hunting tactics. This was what humans did best. They thought. They adapted. They found solutions where others saw only obstacles. "Here," Owen said finally, pointing to his diagram. "This is where we make our stand." He had identified a narrow canyon where the glacier bear was known to pass. The terrain would limit the creature's mobility while giving them multiple positions and escape routes. "Cinder, you are our scout and distraction. Your speed is your advantage. You keep the bear's attention divided." Owen moved his finger on the map. "Silverscale, you are our main force. When the bear is positioned correctly, you engage directly." "And you?" Silverscale asked. "Pharaoh and I are your support. I have mining charges from the old equipment. We can use them to create rock falls, block retreat paths, shape the battlefield." He looked at Pharaoh. "Your wing brace is not for flying, but it makes you stable on rough ground. You anchor our position and protect me while I set the charges." It was a good plan. Even Silverscale seemed impressed. "Very well. We hunt at dawn." That night, Pharaoh could not sleep. He lay awake, listening to Cinder's breathing and Owen's softer human sounds. In the morning, they would face a creature that had killed beings much stronger than them. But they would face it together. That had to count for something. Owen stirred in the darkness. "Pharaoh, are you awake?" "Yes." The human moved closer. In the dim light, Pharaoh could see concern on his face. "I am afraid," Owen admitted. "I know this is necessary, but I am afraid of losing you. Both of you." "We are afraid too," Pharaoh said honestly. "But we are also ready. You have taught us well. If anything goes wrong tomorrow," Owen said, voice thick with emotion, "I want you to know that these months with you have been the happiest of my life since I lost my first family. You have given me purpose again. Hope. Love. You gave us life," Pharaoh replied. "Everything we are now exists because you chose to save us. Whatever happens tomorrow, we are grateful." They sat together in the darkness. Cinder woke and joined them without speaking. The three of them pressed close, drawing strength from each other's presence. Tomorrow would bring danger, possibly death, but it would also bring a chance to prove what they all knew in their hearts, that family was not about blood or species. It was about choosing to stand together when the world said you should stand apart. That IT was about facing impossible odds because the alternative was unacceptable. That IT was about love strong enough to challenge ancient traditions and bureaucratic decisions. Together, Owen whispered. Together, the brothers echoed. Outside, the stars wheeled overhead. Dawn was coming. They would be ready. The glacier bear was even more terrifying in person than the data had suggested. It emerged from its ice cave as the sun crested the mountains, attracted by the bait Silverscale had placed. The creature was a mountain of white fur and muscle. Each paw was the size of Owen's entire torso. Its roar shook loose rocks from the canyon walls. Pharaoh felt every instinct screaming at him to run. Beside him, Owen stood steady, hands on the detonator for the mining charges they had spent all night placing. The human was terrified but held his ground. That courage steadied Pharaoh, Cinder circled above on swift wings, watching for the signal. Silverscale positioned herself at the canyon entrance, cutting off the bear's escape route. Everything depended on timing now. The bear caught their scent. Its massive head swung toward them. Small eyes focused on Pharaoh and Owen with predatory intelligence. It charged. Now, Owen said calmly. Cinder dove from above, raking his claws across the bear's shoulders. The strikes did little damage, but accomplished their goal. The bear reared up, swatting at this annoying flying pest. The movement positioned it exactly where they needed it. Owen triggered the first set of charges. Rocks cascaded down behind the bear, blocking its retreat. The creature roared in fury and dropped back to all fours, charging toward Pharaoh and Owen with terrifying speed. Pharaoh spread his damaged wing, brace gleaming in the morning light. He made himself as large as possible, drawing the bear's attention. Owen rolled to the side, heading for the second detonator position. The bear's paw came down where Owen had been standing a moment before. The impact cracked stone. If it had connected with the human, Owen would be dead. Silverscale struck from behind, her claws finding purchase in the bear's hindquarters. The creature spun with shocking speed for something so large. Ancient dragon and ancient bear collided in a fury of scales and fur. They were evenly matched. Silverscale's experience against the bear's raw power, but the fight was drawing the bear away from Owen, exactly as planned. Cinder swooped again, this time targeting the bear's eyes. His claws scored across the sensitive tissue. The bear bellowed in pain and rage. It lunged at Cinder, but the smaller dragon was too quick, dancing away on swift wings. Owen reached the second position. He was setting the charges when the bear suddenly changed tactics. Instead of pursuing Cinder, it charged toward Owen with deadly intelligence. It had identified the most vulnerable member of their group. Owen, Pharaoh roared. The human looked up, saw death approaching. There was no time to run. Pharaoh launched himself forward. His damaged wings screamed in protest, but the brace held. He crashed into the bear's side with all his weight. It was like hitting a mountain. The impact drove the air from Pharaoh's lungs and sent pain shooting through his body, but it was enough. The bear stumbled, changed direction, gave Owen the seconds he needed to finish setting the charges, and scrambled behind cover. The bear rounded on Pharaoh. Up close, its breath was hot and stank of old meat. Pharaoh could see his reflection in its eyes. Small, weak, insignificant, but not alone, Silverscale hit the bear like a meteor. Her weight and momentum drove the creature sideways. Cinder dove again, going for the eyes with single-minded determination. The bear thrashed wildly, trying to fight on multiple fronts. "Ready!" Owen shouted. Silverscale disengaged instantly, trusting the human's timing. Cinder pulled up. Pharaoh scrambled backward on his 3 good legs, dragging his damaged wing. Owen triggered the charges. The canyon wall came down. Tons of rock and ice crashed onto the glacier bear. The creature's final roar was cut short as the avalanche buried it. Dust and debris filled the air. Then silence. They waited, hardly breathing, watching the pile of rubble for any sign of movement. Nothing. The glacier bear was dead. Pharaoh's legs gave out. He collapsed, ribs aching from the impact. Owen ran to him immediately, hands gentle as they checked for injuries. Cinder landed beside them, scales bright with exhilaration and fear. Silverscale approached the rubble pile and examined it carefully. When she turned back to them, there was something new in her eyes. Respect. "Well done," she said simply. "All of you." "Is Pharaoh badly hurt?" Owen asked, still examining the young dragon. "Bruised," Pharaoh managed. "Nothing broken. The brace protected my wing." "You could have been killed," Owen said. His hands were shaking now that the danger had passed. "When you charged that thing, I thought I had lost you." "You would have done the same for us," Pharaoh replied. "That is different. I am your father. I am supposed to protect you." "Family protects each other," Cinder said, pressing against Owen's side. "You taught us that." Silverscale watched this exchange with her ancient eyes. Then she did something unexpected. She bowed her head to all 3 of them. "I came here to test your bond," she said. "I have seen enough. What you have built together is real. It is strong. and it is worthy of respect. Before anyone could respond, the sound of engines filled the canyon. Multiple ships, official transponders. The council team had arrived early. The transport landed near the canyon entrance. Printok, Xylia, and Daenerys emerged, along with several other council representatives. They took in the scene. The dead glacier bear, the coordinated hunting party, the obvious care between human and dragons. We received Silverscale's message that you were attempting something dangerous, Printok said, mandibles clicking rapidly. We came to observe. We witnessed the final moments of the hunt from the air. Then you saw, Silverscale said, what I wanted you to see. True family, true strength. Not in spite of their differences, but because of them. Xylia's skin shifted to brilliant gold. She smiled at the brothers. I have completed my analysis. You asked me to evaluate whether the hatchlings are developing properly under human care. My conclusion is that they are thriving. Physically, mentally, emotionally. Owen Blake has provided everything they need and more. Daenerys stepped forward. The council has reached a decision. Given the evidence presented, the testimony gathered, and what we have witnessed today, we rule in favor of Owen Blake. The adoption is legally recognized. Pharaoh felt his heart stop. Cinder made a sound between a laugh and a sob. Owen's eyes filled with tears. However, Printok said, and Pharaoh's joy froze. There are conditions. Owen Blake must register as an official cross-species guardian. The hatchlings must receive cultural education about dragon heritage as well as human customs. Regular welfare checks will be conducted for the next 5 years. I accept all conditions, Owen said immediately. Then it is settled, Daenerys said. She produced an official document and a scanning device. Place your hand here, Owen Blake, and state your acceptance of parental responsibility for Pharaoh and Cinder. Owen placed his hand on the scanner. His voice was steady despite the tears on his face. I accept full responsibility for my sons, Pharaoh and Cinder. I pledge to care for them, protect them, and guide them to the best of my ability. I acknowledge them as my family in all legal and personal capacity. The scanner beeped. The document sealed. It was official. Pharaoh and Cinder pressed against Owen from both sides. The human wrapped his arms around them and held on tight. No one spoke. Words were inadequate for this moment. Silverscale approached one more time. Young ones, you have honored both your dragon heritage and your human family today. That is no small feat. If you ever need the support of the Stormwind clan, you need only ask. Thank you, honored elder, Pharaoh managed. The council team departed. Silverscale followed shortly after. Finally, it was just the 3 of them in the canyon. A family, legally recognized, officially protected. We should go home, Owen said. Celebrate properly. Maybe I can even cook something that is not emergency rations. Home, Cinder repeated, testing the word. I like how that sounds. They walked back to the shelter together. The sun was fully up now, warming the valley. Spring was truly here. Winter had passed. That night, Owen cooked a real meal using supplies he had been saving for a special occasion. They ate together, talking about everything and nothing. Plans for the future. Stories from the past. Silly jokes that made no sense across species, but were funny anyway. Later, as the moons rose over Frostholm, they sat outside the shelter. Pharaoh leaned against Owen's left side. Cinder rested his head on Owen's lap. The human's hands rested on both his sons, warm and steady. I was thinking, Owen said quietly, we should make the adoption official in both traditions. The council has recognized it legally, but there is a human ceremony too. Words we say to each other. Promises we make. Tell us, Pharaoh said. Owen thought for a moment. Then he spoke. I, Owen Blake, choose you as my sons. Not because of blood or law, but because my heart recognized yours. I promise to stand with you in all seasons, to celebrate your victories and comfort your defeats, to see you not as you were, but as you are becoming. This is my vow to you. The words settled into Pharaoh's chest like something warm and permanent. We choose you as our father, Pharaoh said, Cinder echoing him a moment later. Not because we needed saving, though we did. Not because you are strong, though you are. We choose you because you showed us that family is built on love and respect. because you see us as worthy. This is our vow to you." They sat together in the quiet. Above them, the stars wheeled in familiar patterns. Winter was over. Spring had arrived. The future stretched out before them, full of possibilities they would face together. The human surveyor who had lost his first family and found another point two dragon brothers who had been left to die and chose to live point three beings from different worlds who proved that the strongest bonds are the ones we choose. Not blood, not obligation, not tradition, choice, love, family. That was enough. That was everything. And as the night deepened around them, three hearts beat as one under Frostholm's patient stars.